So, Adam Cole, Pat McAfee looks to be happening at NXT TakeOver 30. As we speculated here on the channel, I know I did a couple of weeks ago when the initial Adam Cole, Pat McAfee confrontation happened on the Pat McAfee show. Remember, that was a shoot, guys. That was a shoot. I've got everything. If it's anything to do with pro wrestling, I think this is what we can learn, or certainly myself, I've learned this a long time ago, but if you're new to pro wrestling or anything like that, or if you're unsure, if you ever think anything is a shoot or it's real, 9 times out of 10, it's a work. Especially from a storyline and an angle point of view, it's a work. And that's what it is, and it's gonna lead to a match at NXT TakeOver 30. So last night, we had the big angle last night. We had the kickoff angle on the Pat McAfee show. Was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? Everything moves so quickly. I have no idea what day it is at this point, especially in 2020. But a couple of weeks ago on the Pat McAfee show, Adam Cole was a guest. You had Pat McAfee doing an interview. He got under the skin of Adam Cole, talked about the comparisons between Cole and Shawn Michaels, and that unlike Shawn Michaels, Adam Cole had assistance from the Undisputed Era, which Adam Cole took offense to, and then he continued pressing the buttons of the leader of the Undisputed Era by making jokes about his height and that he's small and he's a small wrestler, and it's amazing what he's achieved in NXT and WWE. Of course, the longest NXT champion in the brand's history, in WWE history, and it's amazing that he achieved that being the size that he is, and that got Adam Cole all riled up. He was very unhappy about this, got in the face of Pat McAfee, unleashed a plethora of curse words at him, threw microphones over the place, I believe pushed Pat McAfee's producer, and then they played it up on social media. Pat McAfee going, I can't believe he did this. I'm absolutely stunned. How dare he? And Adam Cole played it up on social media saying, I apologize for losing my cool, but he disrespected me, and I took the time out of my day. I took time away from my family to go on a Pat McAfee show, etc., etc. They tried to, this was an angle that they were shooting, and they tried to make it as real and believable as possible. But it was announced that Pat McAfee was going to be on NXT last night. He was going to be there to clear the air with Adam Cole. And then before, that was at the invitation, I must say, actually, before I get too ahead of myself, that was at the invitation of Triple H. After the incident on the Pat McAfee show, Triple H appeared on the show and invited him to NXT to clear the air between Adam Cole. And then, if you were ever unsure if it was a shoot or a work or an angle or anything like that, then when you have Triple H appear on the show going, I know the best place to settle this. It's not in private. It's on NXT on Wednesday nights between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock on the USA Network. You know it's an angle. So we knew that Pat McAfee was going to be on NXT last night at the invitation of the founder of NXT, Triple H. And then before the show even got on the air, they posted some pictures of Pat McAfee and Adam Cole backstage or in the NXT arena at Full Sail University. They were there arm in arm, shaking hands. They both said very complimentary things about each other, saying that they'd cleared the air. It was just a misunderstanding, called each other great guys and adults, and they were very happy, and it was just a misunderstanding, and there would be no problems going forward, which I think the purpose of that, if you look back on it, the purpose of that is once again to make it feel like this was real. Because once things happen on a pro wrestling television program, it's a work. So if it happens before it, and he's just invited to the arena just to clear the air, and they've done that in private before it goes on the air, then you go, oh, maybe there was something to this. But myself personally, everything's a work. Everything's a work. Apart from Montreal, I do believe that actually happened. So the main event, we had an NXT Tag Team Championship match as the main event of NXT last night on the USA Network. You had Imperium, the NXT Tag Team Champions, defending against Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and obviously supporting his Undisputed Era teammate Adam Cole was at ringside, and you had Pat McAfee on commentary at the commentary table with Tom Phillips. Of course, you've got Mauro Ranallo and Beth Phoenix also providing commentary, but they're providing commentary from their homes. I believe they've got some way of overlaying the commentary from there, so they don't have to travel. So you had Pat McAfee at the commentary desk as Adam Cole was at ringside. And Pat McAfee, during the match, was being Pat McAfee. If you are familiar with him and familiar with his personality, familiar with his radio show, familiar with his work with NXT in the past, he's been part of the NXT brand or associated with the NXT brand for, at least a couple of years now, at least 2 years from what I recall. He does all the NXT TakeOver pre-shows and a lot of Well, he's an analyst for NXT. Let's put it that way. He's associated with it. He's a hype man. Obviously, he's got celebrity from his time as an NFL punter, which we'll get onto in a second. So he was there doing his usual shtick on commentary, being loud and being outspoken. And Adam Cole, as Pat McAfee continued on, became more and more annoyed and frustrated with Pat McAfee's comments, which led to Adam Cole stepping up to Pat McAfee, who then responded to him saying, "Look, you need to chill out." Which then they had a bit more back and forth. They continued arguing, and then it all kicked off when Pat McAfee once again called Adam Cole small when he referred to Adam Cole as an angry Alf and threw water at him. Yes, an angry Alf. You just don't let Vince McMahon hear those terms, because once those terms are in his head, they'll suddenly have the Mighty Mouse character he's always been looking for. How many times have we heard that, by the way, over the years? That report of Vince McMahon. If you're not aware, Vince McMahon is obsessed with the superhero Mighty Mouse and has wanted to do a Mighty Mouse character in WWE forever. And it was rumored at one point that Pac, Adrian Neville, whatever you want to call him, was going to be that guy, and they kind of ixnayed it and just made him into a bit of a comic book kind of character in the end with a cape and all that sort of stuff. He was meant to be full on Mighty Mouse. So don't let Vince McMahon hear that Adam Cole's being called an angry Alf, because next thing you know, he'll be wearing mouse ears and it's the Mighty Mouse Adam Cole. So stay away from that. But Adam Cole's furious. He's angry that Pat McAfee has referred to his size once again in a derogatory term. So they confront each other, which leads to Triple H and Shawn Michaels and a group of NXT officials coming out to separate the two. This then causes Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish to lose the match during the confusion. That almost was secondary at that point, and that is a shame, because the tag team division really did mean something at one point in NXT, but I feel like it's kind of lost its identity over the last, I would say, maybe year or so. It was strong at one point, but you look back on where it was in the past with, your DIYs, your Gargano champ, the same one. DIYs, the Revival, AOP, Undisputed Era as well. It just doesn't feel like we've got many big tag teams coming through NXT at the moment. Maybe that's just a reflection of tag team wrestling in general, not in NXT, but more WWE as a wider sense. And obviously your competitor, AEW, their tag team division is unbelievably stacked, the best tag team division in the world. And then even got companies like Impact Wrestling, their tag team division is absolutely stellar too. And that was kind of maybe the one issue I had with this main event segment, is that I understand obviously the purpose of it, but it was a bit frustrating to see it I don't know, just take the shine off of the main event and take the focus off of the tag team main event, because it was a big spot for the tag team division in NXT. So they lose the match in the confusion, and then once again Pat McAfee makes another jab at Adam Cole's height, and he's dragged away. He even dropped, I believe, another F-bomb or some form of curse word, because it was bleeped in there. So he's dragged away, and Adam Cole, infuriated by this latest height joke. Apparently that's all it takes to get under Adam Cole's skin, is just to make a reference to it, that he's small, which I guess is kind of relevant. I'm sure he's heard it a million times in his career. You can't succeed because of the size and the height and all of that sort of stuff. So he's infuriated. He's leaning over the announce table. Triple H and Shawn Michaels are holding him back. Pat McAfee has been pushed away at this point. Then Pat McAfee sprints up to him and punts Adam Cole straight in the skull. Randy Orton would be proud of him, because he punt kicked Adam Cole's head off. And they sold it as if Adam Cole had been knocked out. He was unconscious, not moving. You had the officials going nuts. Triple H and Shawn Michaels attending to Adam Cole. Triple H shoves Pat McAfee twice. He says to get out of the arena and all this sort of stuff. And that is how NXT went off the air. And of course, this confirmed what a lot of people thought, that this was going to be built into some form of a match between Adam Cole and Pat McAfee at NXT TakeOver 30 in August. And now this has seemingly been confirmed by Triple H. Triple H joined ESPN's Get Up this morning and delivered a challenge for NXT TakeOver 30. He extended an invitation to Pat McAfee to face Adam Cole in the ring in a match at the event on August 22nd. So obviously we haven't heard of yet of Pat McAfee's response. Of course he is going to accept. They wouldn't make this and, just not have. They wouldn't do all of this and not have it happen. So we're going to have a match between Adam Cole and Pat McAfee. That's pretty much confirmed. It's very smart. I don't have a problem with it. I really don't have a problem with it. In the same way, I don't have a problem with a lot of these sporting stars crossing over to WWE and NXT. Some people didn't like the whole Tyson Fury thing. I had no problem with it. Some people didn't like the Cain Velasquez thing. The execution of that wasn't very good, but I don't have a problem with it because I understand it. It's smart and it's business. Whatever you have to do to get more eyeballs on your product, whatever you have to do to get people watching your product that hasn't watched it before or wouldn't usually watch your product, you do. That's it. It's smart business. That's just what it is. People complained about the Tyson Fury thing with Crown Jewel last year. Tyson Fury's one of the biggest stars in pro boxing right now. Heavyweight champion of the world, former unified heavyweight champion of the world, pretty much defeated Klitschko, for the first guy to beat Klitschko in 10 years in his backyard. He's a big name sporting star, and it gets eyeballs on the product. And it's the same here with Pat McAfee. Now, is Pat McAfee an NFL legend? No, but he was voted Player of the Year in his position, and is well known in the sporting world. He's got a ton of people that know who he is that might not be familiar with NXT, and certainly they might be familiar with WWE, but this is NXT. This isn't WWE. This isn't Pat McAfee working something on Raw or SmackDown. This is Pat McAfee working something in NXT. I'm sure most people in the sporting world probably know what WWE is. They probably know what Raw and SmackDown are. They've been on the air for nearly for 20 years each. Whereas I'm certainly sure that a lot of people in the sporting world or wider have absolutely zero idea what NXT is. If they say, it's WWE, they'll go, okay, I understand that, but they don't know what NXT is. They probably don't know that it airs on Wednesdays between 8 and 10 on the USA Network, any of that sort of stuff. So to get a sporting star and someone that has a wide reach of fans and has a lot of fans and has sporting credibility, it makes all the sense in the world. It makes absolutely all the sense in the world. In terms of the angle last night, I loved it. I thought it was great. This guy, in Pat McAfee, people say, how is it legitimate that he could beat up a pro wrestler, blah, blah, blah. Well, one, he's a former NFL player, so he's no schlub, okay? I wouldn't want to mess with an NFL player, regardless of their position, okay? So that's one. I know Adam Cole's meant to be a wrestler and a tough guy, but this guy's an NFL player too, so let's not say that Pat McAfee can't beat anyone up, because that just certainly isn't the case. Secondly, he punted him in the head. This is a guy that was an all-star punter, right? He got Player of the Year by punting a football. He can punt a football like so far and so hard, and he did that to a guy's skull, right? So that isn't just anyway. Even if I kick someone like as hard as I could in the head, that would do damage. Anyone that's listening, if you kick someone as hard as you can in the head, that would do a lot of damage. Okay, now I don't want to be dramatic. People can die from that sort of stuff. Legitimately, they can. So if you have an NFL punter kick you in the head, not only are you going to get knocked out, but that could break your neck. That can do anything. So it's smart. They didn't. I would have been frustrated if they had the angle last night and then they had Pat McAfee knocking Adam Cole out by punching him in the face. I'd be like, oh, okay. But they had an NFL punter kick him as hard as he could in the head. It's great. It's great. It makes a lot of sense. The logic's there. The psychology's there. I really enjoyed it. I had no problem with that angle. I enjoyed the way they went off the air. And Pat McAfee, like I said, he's outspoken as it is, and he can come across as a bit of an a-hole. And he came out of it looking like a total heel. It looks like Adam Cole would be the babyface here, which again makes sense, because anytime you ever have an outsider come into pro wrestling, whether it's a sports guy or a sports guy or woman, shall I say, or someone from the entertainment world or anything like that, they're always the villain, because pro wrestling fans are so territorial that they don't like outsiders coming in. So he's the heel, Adam Cole's the babyface. That solidified that last night. The way they shot it was great. I couldn't pick many faults in it. I thought it was really good, and I think it's a smart angle. I think it's a real smart angle. Also, it gives Adam Cole something to do, because now that Adam Cole is no longer the NXT champion, he lost obviously the championship to Keith Lee. He was the longest reigning NXT champion in the brand's history. He's been a North American champion. He's been a tag team champion. He's won the Dusty Rhodes Classic. There's nothing on that brand that Adam Cole hasn't done. in terms of looking to what he can do in the future, you would look around and go, I don't know. Obviously, there are different opponents, but the way this traditionally works is that if you've done everything that you can do on that brand, you end up going to Raw or SmackDown, and I think that is the case for Adam Cole. It feels like the right time. He's been on the brand for 3 years. Is he going to work on Raw and SmackDown? I don't know. Am I cautious and am I a bit concerned about Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and the creative geniuses on Raw and SmackDown that have ruined the likes of Shayna Baszler, Aleister Black, Bianca Belair, EC3, etc.? Am I worried about that? Ricochet as well? Absolutely. I'm absolutely worried about that, because if you look at WWE's track record of how they've dealt with people that have come from NXT, it's not good. So there's nothing to say that that is going to change when it comes to Adam Cole. So that does concern me. But inevitably, when you sign with WWE, you can't stay with NXT forever unless you're a certain person like a Tommaso Ciampa, where physically it's probably the best thing for him. So I think that Adam Cole and maybe the whole Undisputed Era debut is going to happen after SummerSlam. Traditionally, that's when you have a lot of big NXT call-ups after SummerSlam, after WrestleMania, sometimes near the Royal Rumble period too. So in terms of the timing, it makes sense. Obviously, NXT TakeOver 30 is SummerSlam weekend as well. So it makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world in terms of giving Adam Cole something to do. Because in the interim, it's too late now to let him debut on Raw and SmackDown, because the build to SummerSlam is happening, and they're taping episodes of Raw and SmackDown 2 at a time. So I wouldn't want him just to debut and be thrown into something. So you've got to have him make the best impact possible in his debut and the Undisputed Era's debut on Raw or SmackDown. So this gives Adam Cole something to do until SummerSlam, because obviously this is going to be a one-off thing. Pat McAfee isn't going to be doing arm drags and headlocks every Wednesday night on NXT. It's going to be a one-off thing. He's got his other stuff to do. He's got his own radio show. He's got lots of other things outside of the WWE. So as I mentioned, this is another way of WWE to give Adam Cole something to do and something meaningful to do, and something that will end his NXT career with the most attention and spotlight that it deserves. Also, as well, as I mentioned, you think of the crossover. I mentioned this is really important. The crossover, I think, is a huge factor here, a massive factor. This is NXT, and I don't want to make this NXT versus AEW, blah, blah, blah. But they need to get as much attention on the brand as possible. They need viewers. And also, you have to factor in that over the next few weeks, or over the next month or so, the NBA, of course, is back, and AEW has been moved to various time slots, sometimes on a Saturday, sometimes on like a Thursday, all of this sort of stuff to facilitate these NBA games. So NXT is going to be going up against nobody on Wednesday nights. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't look like NXT is going to be moving nights either. That's how you really know if they're counter-programming WWE, is if they follow AEW to these random time slots, which they won't do. So NXT is going to be going unopposed. This is a chance for them to get all of that wrestling viewership on a Wednesday. And how do you do that? You load the shows up with a famous person, someone that has a wider reach than your brand, in Pat McAfee. So again, it makes a lot of sense from that point of view. Pat McAfee, and I think this is quite telling, Pat McAfee has 1.8 million followers on Twitter. And I know followers on Twitter aren't everything, but that's 1.8 million people that are interested in what Pat McAfee, the person, the brand, whatever, is doing. Compare that to some other numbers here. NXT account has 1.3 million viewers. So Pat McAfee himself has 500,000 more viewers than the NXT account. Adam Cole, for comparison, has 363,000 followers. 363. Pat McAfee nearly has 1.5 more million viewers. 1.5 million more viewers, easy for me to say, than Adam Cole. That shows the reach that Pat McAfee has. You know, before he was really involved in NXT, I wasn't massively familiar with him, but I'm not a huge NFL person. I'm over here in the UK. I call football what you call soccer. So, but when it comes to Pat McAfee, he has a wide reach. Sports media obviously are going to cover it. They're going to be interested. People that like Pat McAfee and like the NFL and respect his career, that might not watch WWE and certainly don't watch NXT will be interested. So it makes all the sense in the world from that point of view. As far as I'm aware as well, Pat McAfee actually has worked a match before. I've read that he's worked a match on the independent scene, maybe one or two, like attraction style matches. Of course, he's a fan. He's an athlete, so I don't think he'll have any problems getting through this match or anything like that. People say, well, what about his knee? Of course, he had multiple surgeries on his knee, which was the reason why he ended his NFL career. But I just say, look at the amount of former WWE superstars that had promising careers going in the NFL or would have been NFL athletes before a knee injury or something like that stopped their NFL career and they end up wrestling for 20 or 30 years. I don't think Pat McAfee is going to have a single problem when it comes to injuries or pulling off this match. Plus, he'll be in the ring with someone as talented as Adam Cole, who will guide his hand, hold his hand through this match. I'm sure there'll be a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to it, but I have no doubts that it'll be a spectacle and something that will be interesting to watch without a doubt. And I'm sure Pat McAfee will be able to get through it, no problems. The whole, he got an injury stopped his NFL career, or an injury retired him from pro sports. That argument just doesn't exist in the world of WWE, okay? You can have people like The Undertaker having 2 hip replacements and still work. So that says all of that. And finally, once again, and I started this out at the top of the video here, if you ever in any doubt, if anything's ever a shoot, it's a work in pro wrestling. If there's ever an angle that looks a bit pro wrestling-y, or whatever you want to call it, or a bit, I don't know. If there's any doubt in your head, if anything is ever a shoot, it is a work. That's what pro wrestling is like, especially nowadays. Obviously, previously, maybe it could have been something a bit different, right? But especially nowadays, any WWE superstar in interviews or doing media or anything of the sort, of anything like that, they're not allowed to get angry. They're not allowed to have a go at the interviewer. They're not allowed to curse and drop F-bombs and attack the interviewer and the producers on the air, because they'll get fired by WWE and they'll get sued by the people at the show. The days of Hulk Hogan putting people in sleeper holds and then knocking them out because of it and getting sued because of that right before WrestleMania, I think WWE learned their lesson when it came to that. The days of Vader being in Kuwait and attacking TV hosts and then being in jail, they've learnt their lesson from that. Dr. D, David Schultz, slapping a reporter, they've learnt their lesson from that. So, again, it was always a work. This isn't a shoot that's turned into a work. It was always a work. I'm sure this match between Adam Cole and between Pat McAfee was agreed several weeks ago. So we're just seeing it come to fruition now, and it's something I'm really looking forward to. So credit to both men. I thought the angle was great last night. I thought the initial angle on the Pat McAfee show was great, and it's something different, and it's going to have a lot of sporting crossover. So credit to NXT. I thought it was very well done. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee at NXT TakeOver 30? What are your thoughts on the angle last night and the angle on the Pat McAfee show? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. I really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. If you have enjoyed the video, please do give us a like. It really does help us out on YouTube. Go up the rankings here and get into people's recommendation feed. So if you have enjoyed the video, please do smash that like button. And most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. We're on the road to 700 subscribers, on that long road to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be able to do a lot more live streaming and reactions and watch-alongs for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all that fun stuff. So hopefully we can get there soon. If you have subscribed already, just know that I really do appreciate it. But if you haven't, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description below. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews 365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.